Okay, so before we dive into this one, I have to give this disclaimer. Tomorrow, Skyrim Anniversary Edition is releasing. If you have a heavily modified version of Skyrim on PC, make sure you prevent the game from updating. I'll have a couple of links down below in the description on how you could actually do this or some workarounds in general. It's only going to impact you if you're playing on PC and using mods like SKSE, SkyUI, or DLL-based mods. With that said, the actual topic of this video is Todd Howard, as he talks some more. Yesterday, we got that awesome interview from him, one of my favorite Todd Howard interviews we've really just ever had. And today we actually did see his Reddit AMA, where he talked about all kinds of things in anticipation of Skyrim Anniversary Edition. Then in fact, he really doesn't even talk that much about Skyrim or the Elder Scrolls in general, but we get some pretty interesting factoids on Starfield, with one of the first ones just being that long-awaited ladder question. Will Starfield actually have functional ladders like we kind of saw in the trailer, or is that just like an animation? I need to say, despite the advent of supercomputers and next-gen hardware, ladders are our arch nemesis. It's an animation and we use it sparingly. So unfortunately, it's probably just going to be something you could walk up to and hit E, and then this kind of third-person-esque animation will play. We won't actually have ladders. You can just go up and down in a normal way freely. But hey, it's a start. Another pretty exciting one. There's a question about mod support in Creation Engine 2, and of course with Starfield. And to say, our plan is to have full mod support like our previous games. Our modding community has been with us for 20 years. We love what they do and hope to see more make a career out of it. I'm actually pretty excited for this one. It definitely seems like mod support will be a core priority with this. Hopefully we get mod tools pretty early on, the Creation Kit or Creation Kit 2. Although something else worth noting, Todd Howard also said that Fallout 76 would be getting mod support the day after we got the full-on reveal, and that was 1248 days ago. We still don't actually have full mod support in Fallout 76 or any type of mod support. But I think when it comes to Starfield, it'll definitely be something we see a bit earlier. But something else I wanted to point out that I thought was pretty interesting was modders making a career out of it. Yesterday in his interview with IGN, he talks about how he hopes to create more opportunities for modders in the future, specifically to turn their hobby into a career, and we see it mentioned here again. It makes me wonder if there's something in the work. Creation Club was a thing, but seemingly is not in active development any longer, and Bethesda does hire modders from time to time. Just recently, they actually hired 3 different modders. But with it coming up a couple of times, I wonder if Creation Club or something like that could be coming to Fallout 76 or maybe even Starfield or somewhere in between. As far as when we're going to see and hear more about Starfield, somebody asked about some details or specific things about the game, and he mentions how we prefer to just show it, which should be next summer. We're happy with the advancements we've been able to make, some of which you could see in the trailer shot in game. So not super surprising. It seems like that full-on reveal when we'll actually get the bulk of the new details on Starfield will be E3 2022. There's a lot of people hoping that we would get something at the Game Awards, which will be in December of this year. But to me, this says that they're skipping the Game Awards and we'll continue to get these constellation logs, little lore tidbits from time to time until E3 2022, where we get the familiar large-scale reveal. He shares some details on Starfield's character creator. He says how he's really excited about what the team has done with character creation here, including choosing background, skills, etc. You can pick your pronoun, he, she, they, and recorded all the relevant dialogue to support that choice. In the interview yesterday, Todd Howard said how the skill system in Starfield is pretty similar to Skyrim's, with a few notes from Fallout 4 added in, and I'm excited for this. It seems like they really are trying to make this a more true form RPG, and being able to actually have a background and perhaps some kind of background job or past life that actually impacts your character is basically a staple of many RPGs out there. It'd be nice for it to become relevant here. On the question of some kind of robot companion, he says yes, kind of. We saw in the trailer there's this robot companion, I thought, named Vasco, who was seemingly going to be a robot companion. I'm not really sure what he means by kind of. I mean, I thought Vasco was a robot and he was available to be a companion based on some interviews, but maybe I'm just reading too deeply into this kind of, but it has been the most confusing answer for the whole AMA. Is he part human, or am I missing something? There's a question about using artificially generated voices in Starfield, to which Todd Howard does say, we actually use such systems during development so we can play the game with voices, but there is no substitute for professional actors. They are a huge part of our development and are amazing partners in bringing these worlds to life. There's actually this line of thinking and speculation that one of the big things we could see with Starfield was full-on procedurally generated characters, which of course if you're doing that you need to have them be able to talk, so procedurally generated voices would need to be a thing. It was this big talking point a while ago. Obviously that's not going to be a thing. Kind of a niche topic, but I know there are some people out there holding out hope for this. There's a question about the tone of the game, what the tone means. Todd Howard does say, great question, one we debate here often. tone equals the world. What place would you want to explore? Why? Who would you be? What would you do? How does that pique your curiosity? How is that curiosity rewarded? We like mixing places with elements that you feel comfortable with or can relate to alongside the fantastical. So that's largely what he had to say about Starfield. Definitely a pretty interesting couple of details we got out of that one. Of course, there was questions about the Elder Scrolls 6, as there basically always will be for the next 5 years or so when Todd Howard is interviewed. And on the Elder Scrolls 6, he does say, "We know it's a long wait, we're with you. For Father's Day this year, my son gave me a card that said, 'You're an amazing dad, but where's TES 6?'" Which is honestly hilarious. On the topic of these long gaps Bethesda has between games, and now these several franchises they are juggling, Todd Howard does say, "We certainly understand that they do take a long time to get right. Ultimately, quality matters most to us, and we're careful with resources and priorities. Also, we're hiring." So to me, what that answer kind of says is there isn't going to be some co-development announcement, or at least it's not being made here. Bethesda games are going to continue to take a long time, and we'll probably not actually see the next Fallout game for a while. I think a lot of people are hopeful that changes, but based on the comments about Fallout 5 yesterday and the Fallout franchise future in general, and then comments like this in the AMA, it really just seems like the reality is Bethesda's going to release a game every 3 years if we're lucky, and that means there's going to be 6 to 9 year gaps between some of these series. One of his most popular answers overall was actually on Cyberpunk, and how Cyberpunk 2077 and the launch disaster of that have actually changed how Bethesda develops or releases games. To which he does say, "I can only speak to the issues we've had, such as Fallout 76. We let people down and were able to learn and be better from it. We're fortunate 3 years later to have 76 be one of our most played games, and it's thanks to the 11 million players who have made it an incredible community. It's made us much better developers in the end." So some stuff we've definitely heard from him in the past. That 11 million players is definitely the interesting piece of that quote overall. No matter what, 11 million players is a big number, but that's likely not copies sold. Rather, you have copies sold in addition to Game Pass subscribers who played Fallout 76, but then they've also done several free weeks or weekends at this point. So it's probably all of those numbers together, but still, there's a lot of people that have played Fallout 76, and even still a lot of people playing it. The player count has dropped a bit more as of late, but it is the 37th most played game on Xbox overall, although right now Fallout 4 and Skyrim are both actually quite a bit ahead of it. One of the first questions that got answered, which I honestly thought was pretty funny, was somebody saying that since custom worlds for Fallout 76 are actually less popular than Nuclear Winter, and Nuclear Winter was seemingly removed to add custom worlds, can we get Nuclear Winter back? To which Todd Howard does respond, "We're pretty passionate about giving our players tools to mod the games, and thus shifted our priorities to custom game worlds. More to come." So basically just saying that yes, custom worlds for Fallout 76 are the avenue to mods, which I feel like has kind of been alluded to and maybe explicitly said once or twice, but for me at least I found this response to be kind of interesting. As I just mentioned, literally 1,200 days ago, Todd Howard said that they were planning mods for Fallout 76. But here he's talking about how priorities shifted to custom game worlds in year 3 of the game. Seems like something's not lining up. I thought mods were a priority, or at least planned from day 1, or literally day 0, because that was before release, that quote. I'm personally pretty excited for mods to come to Fallout 76. We have yet another vague quote about it here, but overall it just seems like one of those things that is a little bit too late now. The prime time for mods where they really could have taken off and succeeded was earlier on. I think now they will come out and they'll probably be pretty cool. I know the modding scene overall will probably shift to Starfield when that comes out, so they kind of have a tick clock right now. But that's just my take. I could be completely wrong about all of this, and the Fallout 76 modding scene could take off, which I obviously would love. I love modding these games. There's a question about Vault 120 and all of the unused water areas of Fallout 4. Todd describes how Vault 120 was unfortunately a piece of cut content, a Bioshock style vault with a massive sentient octopus living outside of it. We actually do have a model for that octopus. There's also a quest associated with this known as 20 Leagues Under the Sea. Definitely seemed like this one could have been pretty interesting. I've covered it in a couple of videos in the past. Then a couple of final and relatively minor quotes. Somebody asked, does Todd like New Vegas? And he says, it's a great game. Big fan of Obsidian. I have many friends over there. There's definitely people that will read too deeply into this thinking that Fallout New Vegas 2 or something like that is coming. Obsidian is working on 5 games right now. They're planning to release a game every single year. They don't have time for a new Fallout game, at least not in the short term. And also an update on the Fallout show, where he does say he is moving ahead. Really excited to be working with Jonah, Lisa, and Amazon on it. So the Fallout show's not canceled. Otherwise, there's not really an update here. That's not quite a comprehensive look at the AMA. I'll have a link to Todd Howard's profile down below and the AMA if you want to check out his responses. I left out most of the jokes or other small things, really just covering the more major details else we got. To me, it's an interesting one. It's always fun and fascinating to hear from Todd Howard himself, and getting the interview yesterday as well as the AMA today is definitely a couple of days of good content. And hopefully this actually provided you with an update if you didn't want to stick around the Reddit thread or anything like that. Either way, tomorrow is Skyrim Anniversary Edition. I'm going to have full coverage on this, looking at everything that's added, looking at the update overall on how it impacts Skyrim, what kind of mods are breaking, and even just a comparison of the free versus the paid in this situation. If you guys enjoy, you can leave a like or subscribe. We actually just passed 600,000 subscribers, but with that, I hope to see you all next time. Later.